That gospel, that conclusion is kind of rough. I couldn't even remember it, but aside from that, let the dead bury the dead, and if you're going ahead, don't start looking back. Maybe to get into that, we should start with the opening line. Jesus resolutely determined to go up to Jerusalem. And he resolutely determined, he made a choice in all the things that are going on. Now is the time for me to go up to Jerusalem. I have done everything that I could do. I've worked the miracles. I've healed. I've cured. I've been kind. I told him about forgiveness. There's nothing left. I am determined to go up to Jerusalem. And as he went up, he made a free choice. And that's the thing I want to focus on this morning, the free choice. As he went up to Jerusalem, this is what he encountered. The Samaritans said, "Out of here." And the disciples, the future of the church, who had been training for 3 years, said, "Burn them down, Lord." That's not part of the repertoire of Jesus. So he's hardly started on his journey, and nobody is following. And he gets up to Jerusalem, and of course, and they crucify him. Can that be freedom? You and I cannot control a lot of external circumstances, but I can always control what my feelings and what my thoughts are. There I can make decisions. And that's what I think we need to focus on. The Lord is my inheritance. And if the Lord is my inheritance, then like Jesus, I can freely choose how my heart can always be. There will be all kinds of difficulties. The Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Foxes have dens and birds have nests. But a lot of people had difficulty following Jesus. A free choice. On this Thursday, July 4th, 243 years after they signed the Declaration of Independence, we speak about freedom. Freedom and independence. Is it costly like it was for Jesus? Or is it just something really it's a great spirit? George III wrote in his journey, King George III, nothing much happened today. I think King George III missed what was going on here. Those men who signed it said it would cost our lives, our families, and our fortunes. Like Jesus, they found out that the free choice to how I want to be is costly. So as you and I look at freedom today, lots of people think freedom is I got a cell phone. I've got a car. I got a little money. Well, all those things could be. They're a start to freedom. But that's not really the depth of where it is. In the United States, it's the song, I gotta be me. I gotta do it my way. That's wonderful. That's really what God wants every one of us to be the fullest person that we can possibly be with the freedom he gave us. But if I got to do it my way and I got to be me, I've got to say the Our Father, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. It's a choice. It's not just me. Freedom is only free if I understand who I am, God's son or God's daughter, and understand where I'm going. It's about my inheritance as Jesus. And if that's where freedom is, then my internal decisions must always be along the lines of this earth is a garden. Maybe you and I don't think so, but that's what God said. It's a garden to be taken care of. And you know what else he said? They are all my sons and daughters. Well, that's challenging too. But that's where my freedom's going to be. It'll be costly. So, Sister Dorothy Stang, the Notre Dame nun from Ohio, went to the Amazon Valley in 1965 to work with the people to help them. And as she was working with them, she began to notice over the years how the big farms and the large loggers were coming in and just taking the forest away. And the natives who had been there thousands of years said, well, this is where we live. And they asked them for documents. They haven't had documents to the land for thousands of years, but they just kept coming in on them. Dorothy Stang, Sister Dorothy Stang, kept talking, and then they shot her. But you know, she's an international figure. She's known. And eventually, through international pressure, the Brazilian government had to look into that murder. As we think of being free, and this is a garden, Pope Francis has called for a synod in the Amazon. And he's going to ask the bishops of that vast river valley, the lungs of the earth where oxygen is created, he's going to ask them about what's going on here with the trees and ownership and the natives. I suspect they're going to come up with some things, and people won't like what he's going to have to say or what those bishops will have to say. This is a garden. You and I have the privilege of caring about it. And one other thing, you know that little story about how Elijah passed on his mantle to Elisha and their prophets, and it's long ago, you know. What's that have to do with you and me calling prophets? It's this simple. Each one of us is called to pass on the inheritance of Jesus to the others. After Mass today, we're going to have a baptism. And you know what? Everybody there will want to put that white cloth on the little baby. We'll limit it to 2. Everybody there will want to take the sign of the cross and put it on that child's head and say, carry the cross. They want to pass on the inheritance. That's what the mantle is all about. For the next, as long as those children live, that child lives, and as long as the parents are alive, that's what passing on the mantle means. It's not just one glorious moment of putting a cloth on somebody like Elijah did. It's a lifetime commitment. Many years ago, I was playing ball with my dad. Well, there were 5 of us, all of us under 12, Sunday morning before lunch, and Dad was throwing the ball up in the air. Well, his arm got tired. We wanted to play. So he said, okay, go in and get a frying pan. And then he'd take the ball and pop it up, and he could shoot it a long ways away. He wouldn't have to do it so often. And while he was doing that, a neighbor came by, and Al said, Eddie, you're too old for that. You should be resting. And he said, I'm tired, but they are only with us for a little while. That's over 75 years ago. The house is gone, the barn's gone, there's a whole different establishment. 2 sisters are dead, but I never forgot it. Passing on the mantle is something that goes on every day of our lives, and we want to be aware of that. Yesterday I had Mass at the Bellevue community. Lots of people there in the final decade of our lives, and I'm talking about freedom. Wheelchairs, pills, canes, freedom. I looked at it. Is this freedom? They are free to choose how they're going to live with one another. They're free to know that these are the final days of their journey. They're all walking with saints. It's about forgiveness. It's about peace. It's about talking and praying for their children. Today, as we reflect, and particularly on July 4th, about freedom, it's a great gift. It's costly. It's the inheritance of Jesus. And he looks at you and me. Pass on the mantle daily. It's a joy to live in this garden and a joy to help each other see one another as sons and daughters of our Father.